Welcome to Case Studies in Financial Analysis. This is week 2 of the fall 2014 mini term. And on our second week here, we're going to look at weighted average cost of capital and some concepts and concerns related to that. So your reading this week involves chapters 5, 6, 7, and 13 in our textbook. And then we're going to look at case 15, the Nike case, for our assignment paper this week. And then we're also going to discuss the Teletech case, which is case 16. We're going to talk about that in our discussion area. So what we're talking about this week is the weighted average cost of capital. And I'm going to assume that you're going to use all of your resources, which means you're going to watch the video that is listed in the additional resources area, and that video titled A Weighted Average Cost of Capital. That video is actually going to walk you through the calculations for determining the weighted average cost of capital. So in order to calculate what capital costs us to use, we have to get a weighted average of the cost of all the different types of capital that we have, whether that be debt, equity, preferred equity, whatever type of capital that we are using. We need to get a weighted average of all of those combined. And then general theory is that we will use that hurdle rate to evaluate all of our projects, one firm-wide rate. So something to consider though is whether we need to use multiple costs of capital. If we have large divisions or specific projects with different risk levels, should we be using divisional or project level cost of capital? And what a division or project level cost of capital does is it allows for differing levels of risk to be incorporated into the calculation. So a great example is if we have a project that's going to be undertaken by one of our foreign subsidiaries, maybe our corporate wide cost of capital isn't accurate because there are additional inflation concerns that a foreign subsidy faces. There may be the possibility that there are additional foreign transaction risks that aren't in our general weighted average cost of capital rate. And so in that situation, there could be a consideration that we should use a different cost of capital on the project level for that particular project. It gives you an idea of when that might be used. So in general though, should we be using multiple discount rates? There are some possible pros and cons to that. So these are things to consider when you're evaluating both the discussion case and the case in your paper. And you may also have additional pros and cons that you want to add to this after reviewing those cases to determine what you think about using multiple discount rates. What can be seen as a positive about using multiple discount rates is that we will apply the unique level of risk to the discount rate for each project. And so we know that for every risk we take, we want a greater reward. And so that seems logical that if we have specific projects that have higher risk, we should require additional reward for that. If we have specific divisions of our firm that are riskier than others, then some may feel that, well, it doesn't make sense for us to use a company-wide discount rate when this particular division is much riskier than the other. Each division of the firm should have a discount rate that reflects the level of risk of that particular part of the company. This may be a train of thought for some. It depends on the firm you're talking about. But those are the pros. The pros is that it allows you to match the level of risk for that particular entity of the firm. Now, some of the problems that we have with using multiple discount rates is that, of course, we can't trace normally the specific source of financing for an individual project. Most companies raise money in bulk, and then through capital budgeting process, they assign that money out to all of their projects. So the funds are raised on the corporate level. and we can't specify individual sources of financing that will only apply to specific projects. And if we try to do that, this is going to create a lot more time and cost in getting approvals for new projects if we're trying to match specific funding sources to specific projects. Now, we also have the fact that in general, financing costs already depends on the risk of the firm, and the overall risk of the firm includes the specific projects that we're talking about. So what we're saying is all of the projects as a whole that this firm is involved with, all of the divisions of this firm as a whole is what contributes to the overall risk level of that firm. So, in that sense, the weighted average cost of capital already includes these differences in risk between different divisions and different projects. And to further go towards that point, if a company fails on a specific project, that doesn't mean the company is going to default on their overall debt that was used on that project, because our ability to pay our bills is based on the entire firm, remember. Um, and if the funds that are used were equity, those equity holders have a claim on the whole company, not just on that one project. So when you look at it, we do want to match the level of risk with the level of reward. So that kind of goes to matching cost of capital to specific projects. But on the other hand, the risk of the general firm already includes the risk of all its different parts, and we can't trace funding to a specific project or division. So those are the things to consider as we're discussing the Teletech case, and some of the things you'll want to consider as you're writing about the Nike case. And be sure to review all of the other additional learning resources. Like I mentioned, there's that video on weighted average cost of capital, and there's some additional information about Nike stock prices over a 10-year period. And then you've also got some spreadsheets to help you with the Teletech case. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to talk with you. I'm available on Blackboard IM most of the time. I'm also available by email. Feel free to give me a call, and I look forward to talking to you in the discussion area this week.